My name's Robin, I'm a director at MARSHMALLOW Laser Feast. We're in Manchester to share our installation, The Scale of Things, Distortions in Spacetime. Effectively, it's a project about black holes for the Manchester Science Festival. Come and see it. We're artists that were introduced to the cosmos, to the science of space. We're by no means experts, but very curious about what goes on. And our stepping stone really was, we made a VR project about seeing through the eyes of different animals. So seeing through the sensory perspective of a dragonfly, a mosquito, a frog and an owl. And from that, what it did was meant that we were able to work on a creative process, seeing the world from a very different perspective. A dragonfly, for example, sees in 360 degrees and it sees a much larger spectrum of colour than we do. It sees infrared and ultraviolet. And this is all stuff that we didn't know before the project took place. After that, we went into exploring our natural environment more and taking people on a journey into the canopy of a giant sequoia, a tree. Along the way and along the creative process, what we realised was that the natural world extends far beyond the confines of our Earth and into space. And in fact, nature and where we've all come from we're made of stardust, and we were fortunate enough to explore gravitational waves. We didn't know what these were, and in fact 103 years ago nobody knew what they were. 102 years ago Albert Einstein came up with the theory of general relativity. I can't believe I'm saying this to you now because I've heard of the theory of general relativity, but I had no idea what on earth it was. But through this process, it's just exposed us and we've been able to get our heads around it a bit better. Our output, the stuff that we make, is the result of just being exposed to all these amazing scientists, all this amazing amount of knowledge that people have shared in the scientific community, where it's our job really to absorb it and express that in this case, in a three-dimensional immersive installation. What would mine be? If I could I'm curious as to what is beyond the event horizon, that's for sure. But in terms of my own scientific discoveries, I'm quite curious about whether people can taste in their dreams. I'd quite like to do a scientific research project in that field. Lots of our work is multisensory, and so I'm really interested in that field. If we inspire one human that goes into the installation to research further into black holes, I think that would be satisfying enough for us. The aim and hope is to just spark people's imagination really, and just get them thinking about about human existence and about how amazing our brains are. That, you know, if you think of the scale of our brain in relation to that 40 billion times the size of the sun, then you begin to realise how phenomenal that is. And so, yeah, we're just really keen to inspire people to research further, and that's not to take the lofty position of inspiring someone that will one day change the world. It's more about just spreading the kind of amazement. Space jelly, I've no idea. However, I'm really curious as to the weird physical effects that gravity has, and actually if you look at the known universe, there's a heck of a lot of spheres. But there's, to your point with regards to space jelly and the wobbles, it's those fluctuations and things like that that, when observing the behaviour of the universe, give these characteristic indications of the physical makeup of these spheres in space. And so, for example, the search of exoplanets, you know, if there's a star and a fluctuation of light, that's a telltale sign that there might well be an exoplanet orbiting that star. And so space jelly or space jiggles are things that scientists look out for as indicators, really, to focus on further. Good question.
Thanks so much.
A black hole is an incredibly dense body of matter in space. So dense, in fact, that not even light can escape it. Its gravitational pull is that strong. And the thing that I find most fascinating is the process of spaghettification. We can't do this, but if you imagine that we could, our bodies would turn into single atom-thick lines of plasma if we were to encroach the event horizon. And actually, and unfortunately, we'd die and be torn apart. But matter is organised into single atoms at that kind of level. And its force is so strong that we know what happens right at the edge, but don't know what happens inside. And as a result, we find it just incredibly fascinating.